She's been tracking the persecution of Christians in Nigeria for years and one of the leading advocates for persecuted Christians around the world. The Trump administration recently redesignated Nigeria a country of particular concern vis-a-vis religious freedom. But what needs to be done now to protect those vulnerable communities? Here to discuss it all, Director of the Center for Religious Freedom at the Hudson Institute, Nina Shea. Nina, always great to see you. You recently testified to Congress about this situation in Nigeria. President Trump approved the CPC designation on October 31st. The next step after designation of this process requires the president to adopt a policy response. Can you give us a sense, first of all, of the scope of what's happening on the ground in Nigeria? And has the violence subsided at all since Trump turned the world's eye to this problem?
Well, there's been a concerted, systematic, egregious, ongoing attack against the Christians, particularly in the Middle Belt or central area of Nigeria. Now, Raymond, the forces attacking them are Fulani jihadists, Fulani militias. These are nomadic Muslim militants who are coming in, not very sophisticated. They come in either walking or on motorcycles with AKs. The Christians have no guns. There's a very strict firearms act that prohibits the Christians and all law-abiding citizens from having guns. But the Fulanis are all armed with AKs, and they mow down the Christians in entire villages. There's also targeted kidnappings. And we heard recently, since this CPC designation, in fact, about 250 school children from St. Mary's Catholic School being kidnapped and taken into the bush. That means into this jungle-like area. And for some reason, nobody knows where they are. This is the entire student body of this school. Wow. And nothing's been heard from them since. A nun there said that some are as young as 5 years old.
There's also a priest that was
kidnapped. A priest yesterday was kidnapped from his residence, Father Emmanuel Ezima. And his bishop sent out a statement, the archdiocese there in Kaduna sent out a statement. They're very worried, asking for world prayers.
It's just, I mean, the scope of this is simply unbelievable. What's amazing to me, as we discussed it a little bit earlier with the posse, the Vatican seems completely unwilling to call this what it is, to say this is Islam driving this, radical Islam. They say, oh, this is really just a land dispute between herders and farmers. You've been covering this for decades, Nina. Is that accurate in any way?
No, that's not accurate. In fact, we had a bishop testify alongside me in before Christmas subcommittee on Representative Christmas subcommittee on Africa, and he said that this is a land grab by the Fulani, who are the biggest persecutors now of Christians in Nigeria, not Boko Haram, not the terrorist groups, but these militias. It's a land grab to Islamicize the area.
Outrageous. You've recommended several actions the U.S. should take immediately to end these Fulani militia attacks on Christians. This week, Secretary of State Marco Rubio posted this: the United States is taking decisive action in response to the atrocities and violence against Christians in Nigeria and around the world. The State Department will restrict U.S. visas for those who knowingly direct, authorize, fund, support, or carry out violations of religious freedom. This visa policy applies to Nigeria and other governments or individuals that persecute people for their religious beliefs. Nina, this was actually one of your recommendations.
That was one of my recommendations. It's a great start. And I think it's very important. A lot of Nigerians want to come to the United States. They want to shop here. They want to invest here. They want to send their children to school here.
What else should the administration be doing?
They should be taking away the guns from the Fulani. There's no reason for these herders to have AKs and assault rifles. And then they should be ramping up the police. Now, the president of Nigeria just announced that he's deploying 100,000 police from protecting VIPs to going to the security areas. So that may be a win for the administration if as one bishop said, let's see what comes of it.
Yeah.
But if that happens, it could be very, very important if they send it to the right proper areas.
The Nigerian Minister of Defense recently resigned, allegedly for health reasons. What do you think that's about?
Well, he's been replaced by a Christian general, Christopher Musa, who's well respected. Some call him the Ulysses S. Grant of Nigeria. They think he's going to.
He's the answer.
He's the answer. So we'll see how that, we'll see what comes with that too. But that happened today. So this is breaking news, and this is happening as a result of President Trump's CPC designation. It was very consequential so far. The power of the White House bully pulpit should not be underestimated.
Now, according to the AP, the departure of U.S. forces from neighboring Niger and their forced eviction from that French base near Chad's capital last year have left fewer resources in the region. Now, we know President Trump floated the idea of sending the military in recently. Do you think this merits that? Or really, this is Nigeria's challenge and they need to step up?
Nigeria needs to do it. They need to close their borders because they are coming in from Chad and these other Niger. And they need to take responsibility for protecting their own people, including their Christians.
Before we run out of time, we've been covering for years now Jimmy Lai's trial in Hong Kong. This hearing that went on for 156 days, an extraordinarily long proceeding. The judges have yet to reach a verdict. We're all kind of in suspense, waiting. He spent 52 days on the witness stand. Here we are in December, no verdict. What is your assessment, first of all, of is a verdict imminent, do you think? And what would you tell us about the nature of this prosecution?
Yeah, well, it's a very political prosecution. They want to suppress all independent thought and any activity outside the party that involves pro-democracy, free speech. And they didn't expect, I think, this backlash from the West. They didn't think the West would care about Jimmy Lai, one person. I met with his daughter, Claire, just a couple weeks ago. And the family doesn't expect a verdict until after the new year, and probably not a sentence till late in the spring. So he's already been in prison in isolation for most of it for 1,800 days. I mean, and his health is deteriorating. He has heart palpitations. He has a number of chronic diseases at this point contracted or developed during his imprisonment.
Wow. Well, we got to pray for Jimmy Lai. I know his children, Sebastian, Claire, were here in Washington meeting with the press. They rallied support for their dad. They met with Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Now, Cruz has been very vocal about the case, having called for Jimmy's release when the proceedings began in 2023. How important was that meeting and Cruz and the Trump administration keeping pressure on China and Hong Kong?
Yes, it's absolutely essential. They do not want their party and their brand tarnished by this coming out. They hope to suppress all news of it, and maybe that's why they're dragging out the verdict too. Maybe they'll hope he'll pass away in prison, and they will never have to say they convicted him. I hope not. I hope he's released. I hope he's allowed to leave Hong Kong, and he's a British citizen.
Yeah, he should be returned to Britain at the very least.
If they don't want him. Yeah. So and there's also a pastor, Protestant pastor, Ezra Jin, who is the father-in-law of my colleague at Hudson Institute, who was imprisoned just in the last month for preaching on the internet. And, perfectly harmless. He's preaching the gospel. So he has not had a trial either yet. So we'll see what happens. But I think this is a bad sign that they want to eliminate anyone who raises their head or does something outside the party.
This should remind us of that very first Christmas when Herod sent the soldiers out in the fear that this child would somehow rise up. And we see the ongoing shadows of that all through time. But now with Jimmy, with Pastor Jin, and so many others, the brothers and sisters in Nigeria, even here in the United States and Canada, there clearly is an active persecution. Thank you for continuing to watch it, Nina. We'll have you back. And you can find Nina Shea's reporting on the persecution of Christians worldwide at hudson.org. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.